Hey guys, in this video I'm going to show you how not to install solar panels. It's going to be third video in a series, and the reason why I'm recording this and showing this to you, mostly if you're planning to install solar system for yourself or your installer, I'm showing on this channel the best practices how to install solar and how not to install solar. And if you're a homeowner and company just installed solar for you, you can inspect system yourself after watching the videos. You know common problems and mistakes solar installers do. And a quick history about this project, the client, he reached me out about 3 months back and asked to install solar system for him. But because Tesla has a shortage of Powerwalls, starting somewhere from September or from August even, they don't ship any Powerwalls. I have ordered for 15 Powerwalls in one expansion unit, and I was able to get only 2 Powerwalls. So I told the client upfront that I'm not going to be able to finish this project this year, and because he spent a lot of money for main panel upgrade, it's a huge amount of money, he needs to finish project this year to claim tax credit. And he found another company, it's a big installer, and they promised that they're gonna be able to finish project this year. They just installed the project, and the client, he asked us to inspect the system. So we're on the roof, and the solar panels are EC460. It's one of the best brand right now on the market. And this mid clamp, it's not fully torqued, so this panel loose on one side, and on the other side right here, you can see it's not torqued at all. And the end clamp, they just inserted but not torqued. And right here on this side, this flashing shouldn't be so much exposed metal. It should go under this level of flashing. So in this case, it's just going to be little part exposed to the weather, because metal stops somewhere here, and it's always small chance that water can seep up and go behind this flashing. Of course it's sealed, but still. And just additional note, so this type of shingles is one of the hardest shingles to install. They don't have straight line, it's a random pattern, and it takes time to install flashings here. So looks like whoever installed solar here, they did use a lot of sealant, which is good, but still this is not proper installation of flashings. The bad part about this, we cannot reinstall them, because those metal flashings, when they attached to the roof, if we'll try to remove them, we will tear the shingles. If we look at this video, we have similar shingles here. That properly installed flashings, we need this mount must be almost covered by shingle. So we have this radius corner, we have this radius cut here, but metal is going up to this level. And here's another example. We're cutting excess of the shingle, and it's going all the way up to 2 layers. In this case, we can be confident that it's water sealed and we're not going to have any leaking. And here's just additional loose mid clamp, and you can see we don't have alignment for solar panels at all here. And then I looked at one panel, and here's another example of incorrectly installed metal flashing. You can see that they didn't cut shingle, and the flashing installed on the 2 layers of shingles, which is uneven. So it's overlapping, and because of this you can see that L foot is not straight, it's angled, and we have just empty space here. So this area is a potential leaking point. Then right here we have a corner with the 3 panels, and none of these 3 panels are aligned. The conduit from a solar array coming into the garage where power walls are installed, and you can see that they use cardboard as a spacer here and just sealed around. Of course, in about 1 year or 2 years, this cardboard will disappear and water will be leaking into the garage. Of course, it's easily fixable, but I'm not sure why even someone will do something like that. And here's another end clamp. It's basically missing, so the solar panel is not attached at all. And these guys finished installation, they are waiting for final inspection, and just check how much garbage they left on the roof. All of this garbage will end up in the gutters, and potentially it can clog downspouts. And here's the interesting part, it's a junction box. It's 4x4 PVC. This is okay to use. I did use them in the past, but only for 1 or 2 strings. Right here we have 4 strings coming into this junction box, and as you can see, it's totally packed. So we don't have to service this. We don't have space at all. It's going to be hard to reach any strings going there. And looks like installer didn't have correct crimper, so they just use pliers to squeeze this sleeve, and it's broken. And the strain relief is like not properly like attached to the junction box. And then right here is a ground. You can see it's basically like entire ground 6 gauge from solar array, and this is looks like 8 gauge from electrical panel. It's holding by 2 millimeters of copper, so basically only this small part is holding those pieces together. And when I was trying to close this junction box, basically one wire nut is gone. And this installation is pretty expensive. I don't know why companies using junction boxes like that. The price of this junction box is about like $6, and the wire nuts, let's say about 10 extra dollars. So total is $16 for this junction box. We're using junction box from J Solar or Iron Reach, and let me show you what we do there. And here's a junction box that we're doing, J box, and for PV wires and wires coming to power walls, we have nice big service loops. Just in case we need to service this, it's going to be easily done. You can see like we have a lot of extra wires, and all of these connectors attached to the DIN rail, and all strings are color coded. So if we need to debug the system in the future, it could be easily done. The price for this junction box is about $50, and one connector is $4 additional. We have 4 strings here, so with the ground it's 9 connectors, so it's about like $35 for connectors and like $40 for junction box. A little bit more expensive, but in my opinion it's much more better. And then 2 power walls installed inside of the garage. I didn't catch AC disconnects. By some reason we have 2 AC disconnects installed inside the garage. It doesn't make any sense because we need AC disconnects outside to be accessible by firefighters just in case they need to shut down the power walls. From right here I can see that this is newest Powerwall 3. Then inside power walls, what I see here, what is a nice part, installer did land 4 strings equally to 2 power walls. So we have 2 strings on one and 2 strings on other. This is recommended by Tesla, and this is proper way to do to maximize DC charging. They also using Cat5 cable for communication between 2 power walls, and they're running this cable in the same conduit that we're running solar. And 2 problems here. The first one, we cannot run communication cable and PV cables in one conduit. This is Tesla requirements. And the second problem here, this insulation is not rated for 600 volts. And by the code, if we're running cables in one conduit, all of them must have same insulation rating. So this is THHN cable 10 gauge from solar. It has 600 volts insulation, and that one may be like 200 or 250 volts. So here's a problem. They didn't connect Tesla backup switch yet, so here's why it's not connected. For rapid shutdown button, they did use 12 gauge wire, and when we just pulled one of this wire, it's loose. So they didn't insert this properly. System not commissioned yet, but still like they missed this part. And we have 2 strings here as well. And what I see, they didn't mark strings. If anyone need to debug the system in the future, it's going to be harder. One additional item on the Tesla power walls right here in the bag, we have ferrite coils to remove electromagnetic noise. And it looks like installers just missed those coils here on 2 power walls. And right here we have a 10 gauge wire, and few strands didn't go into the contacts. This has happened because they didn't use screwdriver to insert wire, they just pushed this wire. And here's a picture of another wire. I didn't remove this, but we can see loose strands here as well. And the last part, looks like they didn't have Ethernet crimper, so they just crimped connector using a flat screwdriver. And you can see like this connector is badly like damaged. I think if you insert this into Tesla Powerwall, we can damage internal connector, and it's going to be a big problem. So we need to cut this and recrimp using correct tools. Alright guys, that's all about this video. I hope you will find some useful information here, and as always, thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next one.